Welcome everybody, my name is Greg Caetano from HPE and we're here to learn about the HPE GreenLake for VMware Cloud Foundation. By a show of hands, how many people have heard a GreenLake presentation before? Anybody? Good. Anyone seen the presentation on VCF, the way we're doing the VCF? No, great, we'll set this off right off the bat. Logistics will hold all questions to the end because we're doing a live stream here and you wouldn't be able to be heard on the scientific. So my background with HPE is I am a 35-year employee, have been doing system integration work since I started with the company itself. So working with the HPE portfolio for the third-party vendors and all our software vendors, putting together solution workshops and putting together solutions for our customers that are both factory installed as well as customer installed. And reference architectures have been a big part of that. When we came up with HPE GreenLake for VMware VCF, we had a lot of customers that were out in the field that were building their own VCF environments. And the VCF environment gets you started, but then you have a long ways to be able to go. And probably the most important thing is the lifecycle management of the hardware that comes behind that and how to set everything up the first time. So I, early on in my career, made the decision to be a data center operations manager. I'm glad I'm not in that role anymore today, like be able to sleep and do some other things in life. But what happens is that became the focus of how do I set things up, what's the time to take everything to market, how do I get a faster time to value and be able to do that. With the HPE GreenLake for VMware Cloud Foundation solution itself, we're building off of the Cloud Foundation software from VMware itself, putting underneath it what we call our HPE Cloud modules, which are the best in class of the HPE hardware and software that will supplement the software itself. You don't buy a cloud module, it comes as part of the service and the solution it is. And this is a private cloud experience where we put the data center, we put the actual hardware wherever you want it to be. So if you want it to be in your data center, that's where we'll deliver and manage it from. If you want it in a colocation, we will deliver it to the colocation or at the edge. That's where we will deliver the hardware. Now the interesting thing about that is, in order for us to do all that work and as part of our factory integration work, I use the analogy of when you open the installation book and it says, gather all of these tools before you start your project to be successful, right? We need to do that. And we need to do that through what we call a customer intent document. So just placing the order is the first step, but in order for the hardware to even be built in the factory, we need to be able to use that customer intent document, which means we need to know IP addresses, VLANs, everything that you would do as if you were starting the deployment from scratch, because our factory is going to do that on your behalf. They're going to build the entire solution out. We're going to have a delivery team come on site and be able to do the integration into the network and bring the services up. And then we'll have our HPE GreenLake managed services manage the life cycle of the hardware and the environment, and we have a shared responsibility model. So that customer intent document is very important in this shared responsibility model because you as the customer will have certain roles and responsibilities and we want to make sure that works through. That means everything needs to be done at the time you place the order. You've got to have that design done, you've got to understand what you want to be able to do so that we can turn that around a lot quicker for you. When we do turn that around, it's at whatever you want to be able to do for the HPE. Do you decide you want to do HPE licensing for that? We recommend the VCF Enterprise bundle, so you get the full suite of the products. So vSphere Enterprise Plus, you get NSX Enterprise Plus, you get vSAN Advanced, and the ARIA suite that comes bundled all within that stuff. Or you can choose to bring your own license with you, right? Bring your own license with what brings a little bit of a different, but a lot of people have ELAs in the environment and they want to leverage those, and as long as they can bring that to the thing. The difference between the two models in that case is if you buy a full license from HPE, when you buy the software and stuff, HPE owns the support L1 all the way up to L3. We own it all the way, and if we cannot resolve it at L3, we have a transfer internally to the VMware and we work with them, but the focus and the site of contract is with HPE on that part. If you bring your own license, right, through the ELA process or whatever other process you do, HPE will do level 1 and level 2 support, but if there's a problem with the VMware software, it gets transferred at level 3 to VMware. And then they own it from that point on that piece and come back. So we have to do the triage and make sure where level 1 and level 2 is, but then we go to level 3 if we're into doing that. So as we said, this is a big part of the shared responsibility model, and I want to just kind of break it down to where we think the shared responsibility model comes in and why we were getting asked this question. So we had customers that would come to us and ask us the other piece about where do we have a cloud that has been validated, it's been delivered, and it's going to be run by HPE, but I want to manage it. I don't want to lose my VMware skills, right? I am a VMware badge carrying person. I love all the expertise that I've learned, and I still want to manage the environment. And that is great, actually, because you know your applications, you know your workloads best. We, as the quote OEM, is able to take care of all of that other stuff that you don't want to be concerned with in the entire environment itself. So you be able to bring that into the environment and have to do that. You protect the skill sets that you have available to you and be able to do this. In the HPE GreenLake for VMware Cloud Foundation, there's actually two access methods. You have your regular access method from your data center or colo where your applications are. So just like you would have it in your data center today, if you deployed it today, you can have access to the SDDC manager, you can have access to the vCenter, you can have that from that networking perspective itself. We allow an alternative access point from the HPE GreenLake Cloud by permission and role-based access. You are allowed to say, this person can come into the HPE GreenLake front end and be able to click through to the HPE GreenLake tile and then be able to get to SDDC Manager to do things. So you've got two access methods, but the role-based has, this cloud administrator, great. He gets SDDC Manager, he gets NSX, he gets the vCenter. This is just a VI admin. We're only going to give them access to the workload domain vCenter. We're not going to give them NSX, or this is a network administrator. We're going to give them access to NSX. So you can do your role-based access when they come in through the cloud. That is a separate authentication from what is standard inside of VCF. You can set up your Active Directories, you can set up any of the LDAP rules for identity control inside of the environment itself. You can tell us what that's going to be. So when you come in through your regular network, you actually can come into it with all of those protections as well. So you're using the two of them across the board. So using this piece, we now have this table up here that kind of will help you understand where all the responsibility is. So on the right-hand side, you kind of see a green bar, which is the HPE management side of the house, and then you see the yellow, which is the focus on the customer or the partner that's going to be responsible for it. So if we take the left side of the block here, it's just really the building blocks. As I said, these are compute modules, right? Inside a rack, when we deliver a rack to you, today it's in the standard 19-inch rack that we deliver it in, bring it up into the environment. We have a set of redundant 8325 Aruba switches at the top, which is your production network switches, which is most of all of the server networking goes through that module itself, redundant connections. Then we have a set of redundant out-of-band management switches with the Aruba 6300 switches put inside the environment. Underneath that, there is a control plane. It's a single server that is the access point from HPE GreenLake. That's how our GreenLake Managed Services team comes into the rack. They access it through our remote data access client itself through a secure VPN. And that's also how we do billing and metering through that tunnel that's coming back and forth. That's also the access point when you're in the GreenLake platform itself and you click through to the SDDC manager, or you click through to the vCenter, you're actually coming through that RDA client and then launching that web page so that you can have access when you're coming through that tile. You come through on that control plane itself. That's where we have all of the tools that we use to help do the lifecycle management, monitoring of the software in there. Underneath that, you would get a 4-node management server block, vSAN based like you need for VCF inside the rack. And then the rest of the rack is available for your compute instances or your workload servers that you're going to do. Holds up to 14 servers in the environment itself, be able to put those in. And we have a bunch of different compute instances. You can have compute instances that have, differences in memory, differences in storage, because depending on what you want your workload to be, that's where it's going to end up. Those are the places that work through. Then above that layer, as you see the software-defined data center, all of the VCF software, and then you notice the yellow at the top for your customer applications and data. That's where the customer is going to be. So if I drew a line in the big picture of VCF where things fall, the management domain is under control of HPE Managed Services. They take care of all of the management domain pieces. You as the cloud administrator for this is where we share the responsibility is HPE will give you a pool of servers. We will give you a pool of servers that have been provisioned with the right version of ESX that you tell us that you're going to need for your solution. Then we say to you, go into SDDC Manager and create your workload domains. Click the button, use the SDDC Manager workflows to be able to create them the way you want to be able to. Use the vCenter, create your clusters the way you want to be able to do, and you can be able to do whatever of the cluster image you want to have, or how you want to deploy those, how you want to arrange them. You can mix and match compute instances in the rack. So if I have some that are storage optimized instances for the compute rack, I may have some that are memory optimized, where I have the memory doubled or quadrupled on those because I have an in-memory database that I'm working with, or I could have some general purpose. You get to decide where they're done, and when you move them into a workload domain, use them for as long as you need them. Oh, I only need 3 servers now in the general purpose pool, great. I'll take the other 2 that have been reserved to put in place earlier. I'll send them back. HPE will basically, through managed services, re-image them back to a base ESXi version for you. And then they're available now to be, again, commissioned into another workload domain. And you may push them into some other workload domain or extend them. So that's your responsibility as the middle piece of those, being able to provision the workload domain that's moving across in the middle. So on the bottom, you see here we have deployment of hosts, then we have in the middle section management domain and provisioning of the workload domains, and then above that, the migrating of the VM machines itself, the virtual machines, being able to work with your NSX networking and everything else, that's where you have control as well. You know how you best want to be able to make that happen for you. HPE takes care of all the stuff, as you see where their responsibility is, and on the manage for the day-to-day side, you actually have the monitoring and availability of your virtual machines, right? It will be what is going on with your virtual machine. Are you able to do that? We do have SLAs in place so that we can make sure that and the underlying infrastructure is in place to do that. If for some reason, we find it's a configuration error, HPE will help you resolve that piece, right? So that we know where it's going on in those pieces. But the backup and the recovery of the VM and the applications is solely the responsibility of the customer. Right? You know the application best, you know how the data needs to be backed up and treated, you know when to quiesce the application to make that happen. Now, HPE GreenLake has services to do that for backup and recovery. Great, we could leverage those as well, but that is the responsibility of the customer in the solution as it's designed, right? And the customer responsibility, if you want to decommission, recommission the host for the workload, great. But as you can see farther down on that column, the availability of the domains, all the lifecycle management. And this also includes the lifecycle management of the HPE value software, like HPE OneView, HPE OneView for vCenter, which is host of the hardware support manager for the VLCM activity that we do in vCenter. Those pieces are all part of the environment, and it does that. And then the GreenLake central accessing tools for all of the management across the board. So you can bring these together and help you build your environment in order to turn them into what you need them to be. Right? When we get into this environment, we have seen customers ask us, well, how far can I go? Where can I actually take these environments next? It's a free-form thing that you can have. As we say, you own the workload domain. So you can create whatever you need to do that. You can create as many workload domains as you have resources available to, right? Primarily in this I shouldn't say first release, this release has been out for a while now, but it's all vSAN based. The compute instances are vSAN based now. Now that VMware has released VCF 5.1, right, we're making a change in being able to bring in some external storage as well as an option. You could always add external storage into it in your data center. If you have NFS mount points in your data center that you want to bring to the host, we can actually bring that in because the network's available and connected into your data center. Wherever you have that data, you can bring them in as secondary storage. The only thing you can't do right now is workload domains. Primary storage to make the cluster, to make the workload domain for the heartbeat needs to be vSAN at this point. We do offer the 2 flavors of VCF available. Obviously, we still have VCF 4.5.1, which is the last official stream that's out there for the vSphere 7.0 U3 stream. If people are still on vSphere 7.0 U3, we're offering VCF 5.0, which is the one that came out in June of 2023 based on 8.0 U1A, of vSphere, so that gets you into the vSphere 8.0 stream itself, and then we're ramping up on the just released yesterday, the 5.1 of VCF, which is based on vSphere 8.0 U2, all right, to be able to do that. Having all of those pieces put together. So we'll have all of that. You can say which one you want. Again, that customer intent document is the real important feature there, so we know what you want to be able to do. And again, as we said, bringing it together for you so that you know what's in the customer intent document, because you're also able to do the management here. You know, you also tell us in the workload domains, this is what I want for my IP pools, this is what I want for my VLANs. We'll make sure that they're all available to make sure they'll do that. Because if you want to decide that you want to have them provision up on the Aruba networking switches, you want to have certain VLANs up on the switches, we can actually take care of that part for you, because that's part of the infrastructure that we will manage as we're working in the environment. So we bring that in and bring the solution together. When you look at the HPE GreenLake landing page, if you're coming in through the HPE GreenLake landing page itself, this is where we do our milling, you roll up of the billing and metering as we're working through that. So you can see on the left-hand side, consumption analytics, the middle would be capacity planning tile that would roll it up, and then the GreenLake billing itself is showing your tile there. Because we know there are multiple personas of people that are going to be looking at this. How are we running? What's our run rate and everything else? This is the consolidated page where you may have other tiles on here for, you may have something for GreenLake for backup and storage, backup and recovery. Our HPE GreenLake for VMware Cloud Foundation tile is in the middle where it says manage your workload domain. OpenShift is another option, or even our private cloud enterprise. So your tiles could be filled with a lot of different pieces that could be appearing on this page. Once you come in here and see that information, you also have those rollback accesses that I was talking about. So as you can see, we've added 5 of them down here at the bottom, so we can have somebody who we decide is going to be an auditor of the system. They just want to be able to look at the system and view the settings. We have that cloud administrator, the master administrator that does SDDC manager, vCenters, and NSX manager. They're also the person that decides to add more accounts or not. You don't need to contact HPE to say, I need to add a user to the account and give them permission. You get to do that as the cloud administrator role and being able to have that. All right, the network admin, for looking at what the network NSX changes would be, you can give somebody that role. SDDC viewer, if you want somebody only to be able to go in and look, maybe somebody's trying to plan some downtime, what kind of updates are coming out from the system, you can go in SDDC manager and you can see the repository as VMware is rolling out their updates and saying, oh, this is coming. But with an HPE GreenLake solution, you also get an account support manager. Right, a person on the team from HPE that's also going to be proactive in contacting you and saying, hey, we need to coordinate and set up some downtime for certain pieces. There's a security advisory we need to do. We need to roll this out. Whatever the case may be, they will coordinate and work with you on that. And then at the bottom is the VI admin, when you're protecting the skills of that VI admin person and bringing them into the environment. And when I said earlier, you know, once you give somebody one of these roles and they be able to do that, and they click on the tile, this is what the page will look like. You can have your management domain and you can have that click through for the SDDC manager itself. You have either the workload domains, as many workload domains as you create, we'll be able to put them up here. And if I was just a VI admin, I wouldn't see the NSX manager link on my tile. My role says just a VI admin. All I'd be able to do is get to the vCenter managers for that, and vice versa. If you're just in the network admin, you can be able to bring those two pieces together. So this is how we bring together the shared responsibility models. We think it's the best of both worlds, allowing the OEM to bring in the environment and knowing how to handle the hardware updates, knowing how to do all of the software updates for you so you don't have to worry about the sequencing and all those other things, and you can focus on your applications and your workloads. Because you have a network connection in from your data center into this, you can use all your standard provisioning tools to provision your applications, to add to those workloads. So we're trying to preserve the fact that you have a lot of investments in that networking piece, and or even in all of that application development. Go ahead and bring that in to bring into the workload domains, especially since you have permission to do that. So that shared model keeps things rolling and bringing things in together. That's what I have today for you guys. I hope that was a great little insight into the world. I thank you for showing up and listening to us. We're out at the HPE booth right inside of the demo floor on the right-hand side, and I thank you having a great day. Thank you.